The company is now no longer, it's in receivership, go home now. Each one has suffered one way or another, whether it's bad management or bad decision. We would look and analyze where they're going wrong. It's about managing the bottom line. Debts fall away and then they carry on trading.
Hi everyone. Today's guest transformed business breakdowns into second chances. David Voskou is the founder of Voscap Business Recovery, a firm specializing in helping SMEs navigate financial distress and come out stronger. So whether it's debt restructuring, strategic liquidation, or relaunching with a clean slate, David's team steps in when hope runs out. But behind the legal and financial mechanics is a deeply personal story of resilience, adversity, and belief in the power of positive frequency. In today's episode, we explore what it means to rebuild in business and in life. David, it's great to have you here today.
It's great to be here. Thank you. Thank you very much for that kind introduction.
It's my pleasure. David, what made you walk away from a stable path and start Voscap? Talk to me about that beginning
How
story.
it all started.
Yes, how it all started.
Interesting story. We have to go back. I'll show my age now, but 1988, I was working for a bakery in accounts and earning £50 a week, by the way. And after 3 months, they promoted me and doubled my salary to £100 a week. So I was very happy. So sitting there, and one day someone walks in, two people, and hands us an envelope to all the staff. We open it and it said basically that the company is now no longer, it's in receivership. Here's your letter, go home now. I'd never ever heard of anything like that in my life. This was back in 1988. And that moment for me, my journey, I've always had to take control from a young age. And that's the first time that I was disabled that way. It was a shock. And obviously I went home, it sunk in. And when I thought about it, I was intrigued to find out more about how these people could walk in and have this power to just tell us to go home. So that's what I looked into. And I found out that it's under the insolvency law. And I wanted to explore to find work in that field for that reason, to ensure that number one, I understand it more and make a career out of it. And number two, never to be in that vulnerable position again, to be fired or told to go in that way. So that's what inspired me, was the power that they had and me never wanting to be that vulnerable again. So that's what I did. And I found a place in London, Euston, and that's where I started my career back in 1989.
Right. Okay. And how's that journey been now, 1989 to where we are today?
Ooh, it's been up and down. It's been a journey because we've had so many recessions during that time. Soon after I was employed, there was the Gulf War, or it was around that time. There was a lot of insolvencies. Then we had the financial breakdown in 2000. Then we had obviously COVID. It's been a journey. It's been a tough ride for a lot of businesses, unfortunately, here in the UK.
What kind of personal success stories that have helped shape you, who you are today?
Other people, it's really myself, really. I think it's an inspiration from me. Long story short, when I was very young, my father left me and my mother. We basically had to live in a caravan. I was very young, 13. So I had to grow up very quickly. That wasn't easy. So I became man of the house and I had to provide, really. Right. So I feel that from that moment, even to this very moment, I have been on fight mode and I haven't stopped. And because I had to be in that fight mode, I would have to learn very quickly to whoever I was working with or for, to see how they would succeed, where they got to, and find the quickest way or the easiest way to be even better than them and to achieve something even better. Use their skills with my fight mode and my obvious intelligence that I didn't know I had until I was put into that position, to keep being driven and to keep going and to keep going. So the inspiration really came from within, from not having a choice and never giving up. I never put my head down. I always thought, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to fight. I'm going to find a solution.
Love it. So talk to me along the same theme. What 3 things do you feel have made you successful to where you are today?
Okay, I think
who you are today.
All right. So I think my father, I would say my father, and I won't say it too much, because if he hadn't left when he did, I would maybe be a different person. I probably wouldn't have had to be in that situation to push myself. So I would say my father. Also, never, ever give up. I know it sounds like a cliche, but I can't say enough. Never give up. If you have that dream, if you have that will to succeed, you will succeed.
Fantastic. I mean, that's not a cliche. I mean, a lot of the my guests have said the same thing: resiliency, never give up.
Yeah.
That's what differentiates the winners from the quitters, I would say. Great. Now, talk to me about what exactly does Voscap do, and how do you decide which businesses are worth saving?
We deal with various sectors. We can deal with restaurants, hotels, to IT companies. There isn't a sector that we haven't really been involved with. Each one has suffered one way or another, whether it's bad management or bad decisions or the current financial climate that we find ourselves in. And we basically apply the same process. So we would look and analyze where they're going wrong. The way we do that is using the insolvency law. We even write about it on our website. It's a legal process where you can set up another entity, liquidate the old entity, which means all the debts fall away under the insolvency law. And then you put that business in the new entity, like I said, and then they carry on trading. What they do is they would buy the goodwill off the old business, off the old liquidator via a valuation carried out. So then they can carry on.
And would that need to be the same management or different management?
It can be the same management. We get an independent valuer who would come in to have a look at the business, and he offer it out to the management. And as long as they abide by certain laws involving the same management in a new entity after one has just fallen away, leaving debts, obviously they're going to have creditors who they owe money to. As long as they follow that and they meet the valuation, yes, they can. More than usually it does, or a new investor will keep them on because of their experience. They might go with another partner because they don't have the funds to buy it. But what we do a marketing process and try to maximize the position and save as many jobs as we can.
Got it. And you've seen a wave post-COVID in hospitality. What do struggling founders usually get wrong out here?
Okay, it's an interesting one. I mean, there's a two-part to that, because I feel if you bring in COVID, then you can't really blame the management because we had many lockdowns. Okay.
Yeah.
So without the sales, for example, restaurants, clubs, hotels, it's very difficult to survive. They still had to pay the landlords. They still had commitments. So that was very, very difficult. And we saw a lot of businesses having to close down because of that. And I think that's been noted nationally anyway. But if we take COVID away, I think that a lot of mistakes that are made is from the beginning, where there's a lot of money spent on setting the company up and not having an understanding of what we call the bottom line. It's all well and good to have sales. Some people think that, oh yes, I'm turning over 5 million. But if your costs are 4.95 million, you're not going to get very far. It's about managing the bottom line.
And in terms of your business right now, what's been the key to scaling successfully or sustainably in this space?
I've been doing this for a long time. So what happens from there is you build up what we call a client base, a goodwill. And through that goodwill, as the number increases of people that I know, then I'm more likely to get more business referrals. So it is a numbers game, and it's about not only getting a new client, but keeping them. So we need to value ourselves on our professionalism, integrity, the personal touch, which has held me and our business in good stead. Here in Mayfair, we have a good reputation, and long may it continue.
Why do clients prefer to work with you rather than any other agency?
I'm very strict in how we look after the introducing client, timelines, making sure they're updated constantly, and also to manage them to deal with difficult scenarios, because a lot of the time we get directors and employees that are quite stressed, and you're even almost giving them therapy, financial therapy, because mentally they're staring down a barrel of losing everything.
What do you wish more CEOs or founders knew about scaling a business or making it successful?
Never rely on one success. Unfortunately, some CEOs or various business entrepreneurs, they create something big, or they have one big contact and they think that's it, that's great. And then they take their eye off the ball and they go around boasting rather than thinking, okay, that was great. What's the next one? What's the next one? Keep going. Never get too big for your boots. Okay. And no one in business likes people that walk around thinking that they are bigger than you or better than you. They like success, but you need to keep your feet on the ground, okay, and use that success in the right way.
And talk to me about technology, right? How is technology shaping the way you lead and grow your business today, especially in the AI world?
That's an interesting question because I've never relied on marketing with technology until this year where I'm starting to do that. I've always relied on referrals, word of mouth. So it's actually a new journey for me, which I'm going to explore more.
Fantastic. You mentioned you believe in energy, frequency, and positivity. How does that play into your leadership?
And like I said earlier, sometimes you have to recognize that not everyone thinks the same as you. Not everyone has that same energy. So you need to give that energy. You need to transform it to other people and they need to hear you. So it would be from team meetings, managers meetings, where I would want to inspire my team to be able to work with a smile, with a spring in their step, and enjoy their work. It's all about caring and it's all about understanding everyone's needs.
If a young entrepreneur came to you feeling hopeless about his business, what would you say to them?
The most important thing, if someone comes in, and I'd need to see what they're doing and check the market. Is there a niche? Is there a need for it before you spend your time doing it? Because it's tough out there. So it needs to be something that's going to sell. So it depends which area, depends on the industry. We're talking in general now. If it was a new restaurant, where is it? Is there footfall? Go and do your research, sit there, see how many people walk past. Is there any other restaurants in the area? If so, what are you going to do better? What's the cuisine there, etc., etc.
And what is the one book you recommend every CEO or founder to read? Don't look behind my shoulder.
I'm going to be cheeky, and I'm going to say mine when it comes out.
Great. We're going to watch that space, David. And with that, I think that's a wrap for today. That's a pod. Thank you very much for being on the show today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.